All right, today we're going to do 5.8, manipulating elimination of systems. We are going to follow the same 5 guidelines as we did last video, but today, when we get to guideline number 2, we're going to have to manipulate our system a little bit in order to get opposite coefficients. So with that said, let's just jump right into it. We'll do problems 1, 2, and 3. Here we go. So, problem number 1. Step 1, make sure everything's lined up. My x's, y's, equal signs, and constants, known as my numbers, all lined up, so I can go ahead and skip that. 2, choose a variable to eliminate. So right away, we look at my x's. I have a 5, positive, and a positive 5. Those are not opposites. I have a positive 4, positive 4. Those are not opposites. So right away, I could not add these two together and have something cancel out. So we're going to have to manipulate a little bit. FYI. Just because I'm doing it one way doesn't mean you have to always do it my way. There's going to be many ways to manipulate these problems and still get the same answer. So as long as you guys take what you learn and do it correctly, you can do this multiple ways and still get the same answer. Me personally, I guess I'm just going to go ahead and pick. I'm going to try to eliminate these x's. So I'm going to look at my x's. I got positive 5, positive 5. Well, if I want to make them opposites, one positive, one negative, I'm just going to pick one of these. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to say this bottom one, and I'm going to multiply everything by a negative 1. The reason why I'm doing that is because if I multiply this by a negative 1 times a 5, it'll become a negative 5, and so I would have opposites. I'm going to go ahead and make opposites happen. So let's do this. I'm going to rewrite my first equation because nothing has changed. I'm going to keep that one exactly the same. But now my bottom equation, because I'm manipulating this, and I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm going to multiply this bottom equation, everything, by a negative 1. I'm going to go ahead and draw parentheses, throw it out here, and draw my lines. So negative 1 times 5x, negative 5x. Negative 1 times a positive 4y is a negative 4y equals. Negative 1 times a negative 25 is a positive 25. So notice I just multiplied negative 1 by everything. That's how you correctly manipulate an equation. And now when I look at it, holy cow, my x's are now opposite. I got positive 5, negative 5. So I can go ahead and I can add these equations together just like we did the other day. So positive 5 plus a negative 5, that cancels because it becomes 0. Now something strange is also happening here. I didn't even notice this. I have a positive 4 adding to a negative 4. That also cancels out because those are opposites. And I have nothing left on my left-hand side, so I'll go ahead and give it a 0. On this side, negative 30 plus 25, that's going to go ahead and give me a negative 5. And would you look at that, just like we talked about many times before, when my variables cancel, drop out, and I'm left with no variables, I'm going to pick between one of my two special cases. Remember, there's either no solution or infinitely many solutions. Well, I look at what's left over. Do these numbers match? Does 0 equal negative 5? No, they're not the same number on both sides. So this is a case of no solution. There we go, nice and let's go ahead and jump into number 2. So number 2, I have x's lined up, y's lined up, equal signs and numbers lined up. We're all good to go. I can go to step number 2. I need to choose a variable to eliminate. Again, I got a positive 6, positive 3. Those are not opposites. A negative 1 and a negative 7, those are not opposites. So I'm going to have to manipulate one of these equations to make opposites. Well, gosh, the choices. I guess I'm just going to go for x's again. So I'm going to try to eliminate my x's. And I'm going to look at the smaller number. I'm going to say, okay, I have a positive 6 on top, a positive 3 on bottom. What can I multiply this smaller number, this 3 by, to get 6? Well, I know 3 times 2 would give me 6, so that's good. But this is a positive 6. I want this one to be a negative 6, so I'm going to make this a negative 2. So that way when I do negative 2 times 3, it gives me a negative 6, and I would have opposites. So let's take care of it. I'm going to rewrite my top equation because I didn't change anything about it. For the bottom, I'm going to take this negative 2, multiply it by everything. Everyone always forgets this last number sometimes. Make sure you multiply by everything in this bottom equation, or whatever equation you choose. Negative 2 times 3x, negative 6x. Negative 2 times a negative 7 is a positive 14y equals. Negative 2 times a negative 16 is a positive 32. Now when I go ahead and look at my two equations, my x's, just like I wanted, are opposites, a positive 6 and a negative 6. Now I can do what guideline 3 says, is add them together, just like we did before. My x's drop out because they were opposites like I wanted. my y's, a negative 1 plus 14, that's going to go ahead and give me a 13y. Negative 19 plus 32, that's going to give me a positive 13. You can double check my work on a calculator if you want. Now, I'm going to solve for whatever letter is left. So right here, I have a coefficient of 13, so I divide both sides by 13. The 13s on this side divide out. Y equals 13 divided by 13 is 1. And again, our solution, because not a special case, it's going to be a point, an x, and a y. I found my y value, so there we go. I found my first half of my answer. Now to find my second half, I can take this 1 for y and plug it into any one of my originals. Oh gosh, I guess I'll just pick the bottom one. So 3x minus 7y equals negative 16. Well, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to plug in 1 for y. And now let's go ahead and solve. I got 3x, bring it down. I get negative 7 times 1, which is going to go ahead and be negative 7. Bring down my equal signs and bring down a 16. I'm going to go ahead, it's a two-step equation, move my constant, the number not attached to the variable first, and we do the opposite. So add 7 to both sides. Those drop out, which I want. 3x equals, I got negative 16 plus 7. That's going to give me 9. Negative. Divide by 3 on both sides. Those divide out. X equals negative 9 divided by 3, negative 3. There we go. So my answer for this second problem is negative 3 comma 1. If we were to graph these two equations, they would touch at that point, but we did it algebraically. Last one, let's do 3. Everything's lined up, following my rules. Boom. X's, Y's, equal signs, and numbers. X's, positive 6, negative 3, those are not opposites. For my Y's, negative 4, positive 2, those are not opposites. I need to do some manipulation. Again, I'm just gonna keep going for X's. I don't know why, I'm just going for X's. I'm gonna look at my smaller number of the two. So 3 is obviously smaller than 6. I'm gonna say, what can I multiply 3 by to give me 6? Well, that's a 2. Now let's check my signs. This is a positive 6. 2 times negative 3 would give me a negative 6. That's the opposite. There we go. I found my magical number. I need to multiply my bottom equation by to manipulate it and get my opposites. Step 2 is done. 3, let's add these. Well, first I gotta take care of this. Rewrite my top equation because I did not do anything with it. Multiply this 2 by everything. 2 times negative 3, negative 6x. 2 times 2y, positive 4y. 2 times 9, that's gonna be 18. Look at that. Now I can add these together. My x's obviously have opposites now because that's what I wanted to do. 6 plus a negative 6, that drops out, it becomes 0. Holy hell, look at this. Negative 4 plus 4, that also drops out. This is just complete anarchy right here. There's nothing here, so I'm gonna put a little filler, gonna put a 0 on that side. Now let's take a look at these numbers. Negative 18 plus 18, what the? Holy, shut the front door. These cancel out too, look at that. That becomes 0. So, looks like this also must be a special case because my variables dropped out. I have nothing left over. There's nothing I can possibly solve if I wanted to, no x's or y's. And I'm up with just 2 numbers. 0 equals 0. So I look at them. Do they match? Yes. These numbers match. 0 does equal 0. So this is going to be a case of IMS, infinitely many solutions. Okay? So let's recap. Variables drop out. I'm left with 2 numbers that don't match. No solution. Variables drop out. I'm left with 2 numbers that do match. Special case, infinitely many solutions. This one, I actually had nothing. My variables didn't completely drop out. I was able to solve to get a point, negative 3 comma 1. So, good luck. Rewatch this video if you need to. Be neat. The neater you guys are at this, the more I hope, I promise. Have a great day. Stay healthy, stay safe. Math rules.